I'm AEISHA JOHARRY from APB UITM Shah Alam, and I will be presenting to you a short video on how to ace that interview. Now, interviews are nerve-wracking. This is because every single time that we are faced with an interview, there's always something different with every experience. So what is best is to just go through the experience and learn from it. So in this presentation, I'm going to share with you what is the purpose of an interview, how to prepare for it, and be familiar with some of the frequently asked questions and practice how to answer them. According to Alison Doyle here from the Balanced Careers, an interview is basically where you would lock in a job offer and have the chances of getting hired based on the assessment carried out with your potential interviewer. So if there's a good fit, highly likely this is the method of how people get employed. Now, what makes a great interview? Personally, I think it's a win-win situation. Not only are you going to get the job of your dreams, but you are actually doing the company a favor by filling in a job vacancy. The key here now is to be fully prepared, and I have structured my presentation into 3 parts: before, during, and after the interview. So what to do before the interview? Well, assuming that you have analyzed the job and make a match between your competencies and what the job requires, you would want to then research the company. This is good if you read up and equip yourselves with knowledge about the company in case you would have a question related to that. You would then want to practice interviewing, and this can be done, individually in front of a mirror or a camera, or even with your friends and family, which is always good to boost your confidence. Then you would want to prepare yourself in terms of your clothes, your hair, how you would look like at the interview. So always make a point to invest in yourself. You would not only be more presentable, but you would feel a lot more confident. What to bring to a job interview is typically copies of resume, your portfolio, as well as a pen and a paper so that you have something to jot down on. You want to practice interview etiquette like shaking hands, eye contact, as well as introducing yourselves. So a very common script would be just to say, "Hi, I'm AEISHA JOHARRY, and it's a pleasure to meet you." Something like that would suffice and making you more ready before the interview. Also, don't forget to find directions. If your interview is on site and the last thing you want is to get lost and be late for the interview. Make sure to have enough rest, because then you would feel a lot ready and fresh for the interview. What to expect at or during the interview. Now, some places have forms to be filled in. Some even have aptitude personality tests that they would have the interviewees fill in before calling them in for the interview. So it's always good to come early. There are some type of interviews, but not limited to these that I've listed down in the bullet points. The screening and placement interviews are the common ones, and I will explain that in the next slide. Phone and video interviews I find will be more common given the result of the pandemic. A lot of companies have now moved their interviews and hired people online. So you want to be ready and familiar, comfortable with talking on the phone as well as appearing in front of a camera. Out of the office interviews are more a relaxed kind of approach to the interview, and this is where people talk over a cup of coffee, for instance. But always remember to mind your table etiquette or manners. And then there are group interviews where you are expected to be in a seating of more than 2 people, and this is where you get to show your attentiveness to listening to others, as well as giving enough equal turns for everyone else to speak. So in the box, as it's stated, a great interview would just sound like any other engaging conversation. So if you are a great conversationalist, this would be a very easy experience for you, having to communicate as if you are talking to someone naturally. So in the screening interview, this is the first, if not the beginning part of the interview process, where the recruiter makes these calls, or even an in-person meeting where they would select and screen or narrow down a pool of candidates for a potential callback. So in a screening interview, you would want to stand out so that you would potentially be called for the next few stages. And so after the screening, you would expect something like a selection interview. Placement interviews are more referred to students when they are taking placement interviews for enrollment processes to a particular program at the university, for instance. So most of the time you will see selection interviews as you go into the working world. This is conducted on-site, most commonly on-site, and by a decision maker like the hiring manager, where they can decide whether you are a good fit for the job. Here are some frequently asked questions, and I have listed them out in terms of questions about you or the candidate, and you can see that there are a lot here. So maybe you can go to the Balanced Careers link down here for more type of questions related about the candidate or yourself. Questions about leaving your previous job is also quite typical, and this is about what you did in your previous job and how do you describe what you did. Why you should be hired is another typical question. The qualifications questions would relate to your degree. Management and teamwork questions, also job performance questions are quite specific to what is expected for you at the new company. The new job and company questions are more about what you know of the company, so researching about the company earlier would definitely do you good here. Salary questions about what to expect in terms of the pay, and then questions about the future, questions like where do you see yourself in 5 or 10 years. So that's some of the frequently asked questions. One of the famous questions would be to tell or describe about yourself. And here I would like to share Dan Locke's view on how to respond to the typical infamous question, tell me about yourself.
So tell me about yourself. So tell me about yourself.
Well, I liked,
So tell me about yourself.
Can I call a friend?
You submitted the resume and you waited patiently, and finally you got that phone call, and now you got the interview. You're sitting across the table and the hiring manager smiles and asks you the question, tell me about yourself. And you panic and you don't know what to do and you don't know what to say. You start to stutter, and halfway through the conversation you say to yourself, I blew it, why did I even say that? You never get a second chance to make a first impression. Usually that hiring manager makes up his or her mind in the first 3 minutes during the interview. Do you make a good impression? So today I'm going to share with you from a CEO perspective, from a hiring manager perspective, from an employer perspective, what is the best response to the question, tell me about yourself. You see, we have interviewed thousands and thousands of potential applicants, and I cannot tell you how many times I see people kind of struggle with this question. But however, there are incidents that we are very impressed with the response. This is not theory. We have taken some of the best replies, some of the best responses to this question. I'm gonna teach it to you. And by the end of this video, you're gonna walk away with the exact formula, exactly what do you need to say and how to say it. I'm also gonna give you a little script, a little template. So next time when you are asked this question, you know exactly what to say. And now let me give you a couple keys first. Key number one, when the hiring manager is asking you the question, tell me about yourself, they are not actually asking about your whole life story. They're not asking about your parents, your background, and your dog's name, and what kind of cat do you have. It is not about that. So when people hear that question, they think, oh, let me tell you my life story, and 20 minutes into it, you have not talked about anything important. So what they're actually asking is, what are you bringing to the table? So from now on, when you hear the question, tell me about yourself, I want you to make the mental switch. That equals, what value could you bring to the company? What problems can you solve for the company? That's what they are asking. And you shouldn't go on and on and on about all your background and all of that. No, don't do that. Key number two, be yourself, but be your best self. See, one of the mistakes people make is they believe in an interview, well, you know, I just want to be myself. Yes, you want to be yourself, but you want to be your best self. You want to be authentic. You don't want to be fake. But it doesn't mean that you just share everything. This is the first time you just sitting across the table from a hiring manager. It's like a date, right? You just getting to know each other. This is like a coffee date. So make sure that you present your best self, right? Lead with your strong foot forward. So when they are asking you the question, everything that you share, any statement that you make, you always want to tie it back to what's in it for them. WIIFM, what's in it for them. So let me give you an example. Let's say someone is hiring and you're applying for a social media manager position, okay? And the hiring manager is asking you, well, so tell me about yourself. A typical response. Someone might say, well, you know, I grew up with social media, and I've used social media for a long, long time, my whole life actually. So I'm very familiar with it. And just about 3 years ago, and I thought to myself, hey, you know, maybe I could actually make a living doing this. So I started playing around with it, and you know, take on a couple of clients here and there, and I've worked with a couple of people, and now, you know, I'm planning to get married, and my fiance, you know, told me that, you know, I should get a stable job. So here I am, and I'm looking for a company that offers a good, you know, growth potential, a good growth opportunity. And also this place is, you know, not too far from my home, so it's good. It's only a 10-minute drive. You see the problem? Like that, it's all me. It's all about that person, what they need, and all of that stuff. Bad idea. Now, how do you feel if you are the hiring manager? When you ask that question, comment below if that's the answer that you get. So instead of rambling on about that, about my background and all this stuff, what I want, no. If you are turning it into a benefit, what's in it for them? What's in it for the company? What's in it for the hiring manager? What could you say? I'm going to give you a simple formula. Write this down. 3S. 3S. First, success. Now, here's a script that you could use. I have been blank. Or my background is blank. So let me demonstrate. Let's say it's the same position, social media manager that you're applying. So first, success. I have been. I've been doing social media for the last 3 years, and I specialize in helping companies and entrepreneurs growing their Facebook fan page. And in the last 3 years alone, I've helped dozens of clients in over 10 different industries. And on average, I've been able to help my clients to really increase the engagement and grow their fan page by 300 to 500% in less than 6 months. And that's what I am passionate about. In fact, I have listed some of those clients that I've worked with in the reference letter. You see how that works? You're talking about your success, but without bragging. It's more to demonstrate and showcase your skill set. What are you good at? That's step number 1, success. And then step number 2 is strength. And here's the script. My strength is, or my real strength is, fill in the blank. My real strength is my ability to truly understand what your audience wants. I pride myself on my reputation to creating engaging and compelling content that I know your audience loves and want to share. That's the second step. My strength is blank. Third, situation, meaning how does that apply to the position that you're applying? How do you apply your background, your strength into the new company, the new opportunity? Situation, what I am looking for is. What I am looking for is, fill in the blank. What I'm looking for is a company that I could add value to, that I could produce a positive return on investment for, where I could join a strong team. Is this what ABC company is looking for? You see, at the end, you ask a question. Whoever asks a question controls the conversation. So you want to ask a question, and then now the hiring manager would be like, okay, yeah, I guess that's what I'm looking for. No, that's not what we're looking for. And you go from there. Just because you are in an interview, it doesn't mean that you don't need to sell. Now, the next question you might have is, well, Dan, does that mean that I have to memorize a script of some sort? The answer is absolutely yes. You don't want to go in unprepared. In fact, you want to write it out, practice it, rehearse it many, many times. So when you are in front of that potential hiring manager, you're ready to go. You need to memorize it and say it many, many times and repeat it many, many times so it comes across very, very natural. The last thing you want is to panic and stutter and you don't know what to say. You do not want to do that. If you find this video useful, comment below.
So having said that, you would definitely want to know what company wants in the end. So this kind of question is something where you can study what type of company you're applying for and prove that you are the right person for the job. So at the end of the interview, normally you would be left with hiring managers asking you, so do you have any questions for me? This I find very suitable, beneficial. So we'll take a look at thebalancedcareers.com for what to ask and not to ask in a job interview.
If I were hired for the role of administrative assistant, what would you want me to achieve in the first 3 months?
I'm really interested in learning more about your company's culture. I did a little research on your website, but was wondering if you could expand more on that.
I'm very excited for the possibility of this job, and the team seems great. I just want to check, are there any qualifications you think I might be missing?
What do your employees do for fun after work?
How much can I expect to earn in my first year? Is there any profit sharing?
What are 5 strategic goals for the company for the next 5 years?
Now I'm going to show you how to use the STAR technique when answering behavioral type interview questions. Have a look. I just want to go over some of the techniques again, and this is easy to follow if you use the STAR technique. Again, it's by beginning your answer with a situation, followed by a task, followed by an action, and then ending with the result. So let me Oh, by the way, you should always look at the pre or the before thing that you want to do is to prepare. You want to always think, and there is that maybe 1 minute or 2 minute kind of pause before you answer in the real interview to show that you really consider the question and taking your time to then proceed with an answer, that you don't rush into giving your answer. So let's take a look at the 4 steps. Here I will show you maybe a more clearer explanation of each of the steps, and then followed by an example that maybe you could benefit from. So in terms of the first step, which is the situation, you would want to give a general, like a situation that people can relate to. So I have chosen this sentence. I feel like people could relate. So say, for instance, I say, thank you for the question. Well, let me tell you about my experience in an unhealthy environment I used to work at. So when you say this first line, you are focusing on unhealthy environment. Okay? All right. And the second thing you then want to do is you want to give more specific details of what was involved. And this is, in another question, this could mean task, because some other type of behavioral questions would require you to describe what was your role in a particular situation, be it a good or a bad thing. So in this case, it is an unhealthy environment, so you want to be able to give more specific details of your role in it. Okay? So the example I used here as a continuation of that first line, at my previous workplace, people didn't care about cleanliness, and this is something I take seriously. So I will ensure that my workspace is always clean and tidy. Or maybe, to describe something about your personality, and that way the interviewers could have a sense of who you are and what you like and not like. And then the third step is by continuing with the "so what did you do" question. So generally you want to present to the hearers what is the situation, what is the issue, and then quickly go to so what did you do after that. So you want to give at least one action that you had to take in order to solve that issue. And the answer that I decided to give as a response can be in 2 sentences. So maybe the first part I would say, in the beginning, I tried to show a good example by volunteering to clean the public spaces, but this was not showing much results. So I came up with another idea and suggested during a department meeting to do a gotong session every fortnightly. So this way, when you listen to this response, you can really tell that the candidate or the speaker is trying to describe some of the actions that he or she tried to do in order to resolve the issue that was being discussed earlier. So you can use words like, I tried to do this, I came up with this, and so on. All right? So that's very explicit, meaning it's very clear that that was the action taken. The first one was by volunteering, and then the second one was to have a gotong royong session. Excuse me. So in the end, when having said all of this, the hearer or interviewers would then want to know, so what's the result, right? What happened after that? And this is where you could end the question and your answer with something like a positive tone, right? And so you want to say something like, oh, luckily everyone was happy to join in. So in the end, apart from a cleaner workplace, the workers also managed to bond with each other. And by doing that, you could also show your personality. This means that you are a very positive person. By use of the word happy, manage to bond with each other, looking at the situation in a more positive light. So instead of beginning your answer with something that could be negative, you always would want to end your answer with a positive light. That's what I feel. Okay? So once the interview is over and you are left to ask yourself what's next, it's very important to show how grateful you are for the opportunity. And so you would like to end with a thank you note. However, if you do get the results and the results are not in your favor, you would, still thank them for the opportunity, be grateful, and hopefully you can see this in a positive light, turn it into a learning opportunity. For more information on the overview of a typical recruitment process, you can view this sharing session that I did between two human resource practitioners and myself, and hopefully this sharing link will be given to you afterwards. I guess that's all for my presentation, and just like the last words here, whatever it is that you are going to go through in the course of your job interviews, you'll be given plenty of opportunities to learn, to improve, and to give it your best shot. So with that said, all the best in your future job interviews. That's it from me. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.